Hello and welcome. Another video, another week, and this week I've got a continuation from the video on the Philadelphia experiment, and this is the Montauk Project. So we're going to get into it, and here we go. So the Montauk Project, here's this SAGE radar array or this radar tower, which is a big part of this, and it would be a big part of other future operations that we see today. So from Wikipedia, it says the Montauk Project is a conspiracy theory that alleges that there were secretive government projects conducted at Camp Hero, the Montauk Air Force Station in Montauk, New York, for the purpose of developing psychological warfare techniques and exotic research, including time travel. And we know more from what the Philadelphia experiment was all about, that this was part of the continuation and used at a future date to augment or change things in the past, which was the ship they were using, the Eldridge and stuff like that. So here's this Camp Hero State Park military area site map, and you can screenshot that if you need to, but it's just kind of part of the base, I guess. So the Montauk Project, this was a continuation of the Philadelphia experiment with research learned from the Phoenix projects, and the project took place in Montauk, New York at Camp Hero on the Montauk Air Force Base. During the Philadelphia experiment, it was learned that men in the experiment would be extremely open to manipulation and could be persuaded to believe any number of things they were told. So they would do these kind of experiments with electricity, and during this people would forget who they were, and then you could tell them anything you want and they would believe it because reality would be so skewed during these events. Now most likely this was because of a loss of consciousness due to the warping or bending of space-time. As the fabric of reality was bending and becoming augmented, so was the perception of those involved in the experiment. This effect was witnessed during and after the experiment concluded. This discovery was due to the phasing in and out of reality and would be researched further during the 80s. So, this is testing of magnetism, static electricity, magnetricity, electromagnetism, electrogravitic, experiments with the black goose substance, and looking into paranormal activity and the effects on human consciousness. So, from all these experiments where they were using electricity and magnetics and things like that, and how it would affect the consciousness of a person they were subjecting these fields to. So here is the a map of this area, and you can see where Montauk is on the far point over on the right, and Philadelphia experiment where they did this into this harbor, pointed this tower, and then used all these different types of energies to beam these push the ship back into time. And it was experiments into space and time and how the future can affect the past. When they sent this ship into the subspace, into the future, it disappeared. And on one timeline, the ship would never have come back. And then at a later date, they invented this tower, which then shot it back, which caused an alternate timeline, pushing the ship back into reality back in 1943. So it's kind of hard to grasp these topics. You have to really dive in 100% to kind of understand how they're conducting these experiments and operations and the kind of technology that came out of that, but we're going to get into it. So, the SAGE radar tower or the radar array, the experiment at the Montauk Air Force Base involved a massive SAGE radar array that would emit a signal that would be sent to the control tower. The signal would be broadcast to an amplification device that was held in a building that was housed 2 miles away. It would also retrieve the ship used in the Philadelphia experiment, the USS Eldridge. We talked about that in the Philadelphia experiment video. If you haven't watched that, this is kind of the part two of that. And there'll be one more video after this video about the Looking Glass project that I'll get into. But it's all kind of the same larger experiment that they were doing all these multiple tests on to see how these fields and magnetic fields and all these things affect reality around us. So, most of what we see on the surface is nothing compared to the underground structure that accompanies this facility. This would include multiple levels underground connecting to deep underground military bases and experiments and creating creatures. Um, Using this kind of technology of consciousness and thinking of objects and creatures and manifesting it into reality and then experimenting on kind of what these objects and creatures are made out of and things like that. And they would house these in this underground level. Uh, Underground in these deep underground bases and stuff. I've made a whole video on deep underground bases, how they connect and what they're used for and how to locate them. So if you're interested in that, go watch my video on the deep underground military bunkers, bases, and black sites, and it will really connect more dots if you're interested in this. So this Montauk Island, you can see the red line is where the Montauk base is, shooting this beam at the Philadelphia experiment and causing these massive changes by beaming this ship, forward in time, back in time. And then when they figured out all the applications that could be used with these radar towers, this is where they get into more of creating a thought in the general population, turning these towers on, pointing it at the population, and then the mass of the general public or the mass population could will massive events into existence. And this is a big key part of how this Philadelphia experiment would translate into things like Project Bluebeam and stuff like that. So the radar tower or array was a building that was 200 to 300 foot tall with 100 foot in diameter and was 5 floors tall. From the research gained in the Philadelphia experiment, it was shown that the fabric of reality could be manipulated with high amounts of electricity. Now, this would cause a temporal distortion or displacement of those in the surrounding area. The radar array could be pointed at a required destination, causing an effect that could manipulate the area in which the dish was directed. So they could take this dish, here's the dish, and the control tower with the power, and they could rotate this disc 360 degrees, point it wherever, and beam objects or it really could do multiple there was multiple applications that this radar tower could do, and it all kind of pushes the deception of what these radar towers and what radar was really being used for and how it could be used for defensive purposes or offensive purposes and multiple things depending on kind of how you're setting up these machines, what kind of current you're putting through it, what kind of are you pulsing it? Are you directing it with constant power sources and beaming things? And it's really they were looking into all these types of technologies that most likely these technologies were found from the old world and they're trying to re-engineer them, back engineering them to see how they work and stuff. So you have to think of it like in the old world, if they could beam a person from one location to another, like in the movie The Fly or Star Trek or things like that, where they're going to beam down to a planet, it's all finding this technology and trying to figure out how it works and how they're trying to, make these massive facilities to reinvent these technologies that were lost during the old world. Okay. So, space, we know, is the separation of particles around conscious energy. Time is the toroidal impact on the molecular energy. And there you can see the little toroidal donut, the toroidal sphere. And that's kind of what they were experimenting with. So, the experiments were the cause and effect of the manipulation of Earth's toroidal field to cause temporal events. And we discussed this in the last video. The temporal effects are when changes can be witnessed pertaining to time, events, memory, perception, origin, reality, alignment, location. Temporal, temporal. And that's kind of what they're experimenting with, how one affects the other, and how, multiple things can affect other events. So, time and events can change the origin, memory and perception can change reality. Location and reality affects the alignment of all these things, and it's just multiplying and using multiple factors to get multiple outcomes. So, along with the tower, surrounding experiments would include a type of chair that was given to the secret government by an extraterrestrial race known as the Greys, which we're now seeing these Greys as a demonic type entity. And these Greys would have all this technology, but they have no creative ability. They have no connection to God, which is the creator and the creation. So they try to give this technology to humans to use to create things that they cannot create, because that's the one thing that humans have that all these other races don't have, is this creative divine spark that if you envision something, if you can see yourself doing it, most likely you can make that a reality. So, another theory to the origin of the chair was that it was recovered from the Roswell crash in 1947. I have done a video in the past about the Roswell crash, and most likely it was a hoax, but there were several ET crashes, and they have reported several ET crashes, and that's one of the sub reasons for these towers. Was if these ETs are coming and going from our realm to another realm or what have you, they can beam these things and cause a distortion which makes them crash, because as they're traveling from point A to point B, you can change their origin or something with these towers and beam them and they crash. And then so it's like a weapon system. Radar can be used when you apply extra electricity or power to it, and you can be used as a beaming device to, down these ET craft. So the theory would have the chair being the pilot seat of one of these ET crafts. Okay. So this would work with the consciousness of the operator. And when the chair was powered up and amplified through the tower, a person using the chair could direct their thoughts, which would produce a physical manifestation. Okay. And this Montauk chair is said to be very similar to the chair design in Total Recall. I've heard that on a couple places, but it's like a machine that uses your thoughts to amplify reality. And here's the Total Recall remake, and it's like your thoughts are amplified. And when your thoughts are amplified, you can manifest all types of physical objects, physical creatures, and most likely there's connections to all this type of stuff. Like everything connects to the larger whole when you examine and understand all these projects and experiments they were conducting. So the observer or consciousness using the device would think of any number of things, and they would be brought into our reality through an unknown factor. The ET technology would amplify the consciousness of the user and bring creation into being by thought. This would show those involved that our thoughts or our consciousness create certain aspects of reality and the matter within it. So, when used as a seat within this high technology craft, the pilot would think of a destination that would open a portal, and the craft would instantly travel to the destination that was thought of by one operating the device. So, when these scientists are trying to figure out, what's faster than the speed of light, the fastest thing that you could ever imagine is your own thoughts. So if you think of some place and you blink in and out of reality and you can just go there, it's faster than flying there in a ship or a car or something. I mean, if you could think your way downtown to a Walmart, you could just blink and you're there in an instant. So this is kind of how this ET technology works. It's a thought amplification device, and most likely that's what these UFO crafts are most likely how they operate is on human thoughts, thinking and stuff like that. So the Montauk Project ended when someone using this chair supposedly manifested this 30-foot tall giant shadow creature that attacked surrounding buildings and personnel. The creatures would consume and eat large portions of the surrounding buildings and people or personnel and could not be stopped by conventional means. The power to the tower was cut, and the power to the tower and the chair were cut, but the creature still could not be stopped. Power was being supplied by some unknown force, which was eventually stopped by the use of a cutting torch, which fried all the power supply, and the creature kind of dissolved or just disappeared. So Montauk to Bluebeam. After that, the project was terminated. Gained information from the Montauk Project would be the next secretive project known as Project Bluebeam. From the projected manifestations due to the amplification of the person's consciousness, a planned event would be created to use the thoughts and fears of the people against them. This would be known as Project Bluebeam or the Skybeam Project. And I've done a video on that, but it all these projects kind of connect to the overlying goal or the larger whole of this new world order operation. So the Philadelphia experiment and then to many other top secret projects and experiments. The Philadelphia experiment would turn into the Phoenix Project, MK Ultra mind control, directed energy weapons, Project Looking Glass, Montauk's creatures and temporal events. And we see this reality where multiple large portions of the population remember different things. And, this is like the Mandela effect or something like that, where different people remember reality differently. And this goes to show people that they are using these technologies as on the greater whole of the mass population. So all of these experiments were conducted into matter, energy, and consciousness. From these experiments, we would begin to see the technology that we now take for granted, which are like radio frequency weapons, televisions, cell phones, 5G HARP, the CERN machine, direct energy weapons. These direct energy weapons, it's not just burning houses down throughout the forests in California and stuff. There are multiple applications for directed energy weapons. I suggest anyone looking up document US 609-1994A and see how many different directed energy weapon technologies they have patents for. I did a whole video on this a while back. So if you go under all my videos and find the direct energy weapons US 609-1994A, I go into all these different programs that connect to directed energy weapons. So very interesting stuff. There is also a connection to weather weapons. Now, individually, these systems would not have an effect on a large scale, but when working together, they can cause extreme damage and harm. And I'll show you that in just a second. So, what was learned? The main thing that was learned through the Philadelphia experiment was how a person's consciousness could be altered by the manipulation of space and time. Disorientation would occur, and then a person could be manipulated into believing almost anything suggested to them. And this would begin MK Ultra, where they could use different types of, shocking people, torturing them, creating all these energy fields within a person to manipulate their minds or the minds of others around them. So, when the Montauk chair was used, a person could be made to think of a number of things and then will them into existence. Now, this was a breakthrough in new forms of physics and creation of objects and creatures from the thoughts of an observer. This information would be used to control the people and used to create the technology used for the final deception of Project Bluebeam. Now, this would also connect to Project Looking Glass, which I'll do. That'll be the third and final video in this little mini series about these projects and what they learned from Project Looking Glass, how Project Looking Glass worked, the Looking Glass device, and all these types of things. So that will be coming soon, maybe next week. So this is this tower or antenna system, but this was like the birth of 5G towers. And all of the concerns and effects from the 5G towers was all learned kind of from this Montauk project. So these 5G towers are also kind of like these AKA Montauk towers, which when turned on, could cause multiple different effects and different types of results depending on what these controllers would need or these New World Order people would need. Now, these can also be used as part of the HARP system, which may be a large part of what was learned from the Montauk Project, amplifying the thoughts and consciousness of the people by magnetizing the atmosphere and affecting the thoughts of people. Now, here are multiple of these receiver ships. So they would activate the harp as a whole and then bounce them off and push them wherever they wanted with these different types of ships that they have. And this has been witnessed more and more as they do more of these massive storms, like the Hurricane Helene, and Spain has had a bunch of flooding and all this stuff. This is where all this comes from. Now, how this works is, I'll get into it in a second, but it kind of makes sense when you understand how the thoughts of people create reality and they manipulate that. So, these are these 5G streetlights, which can be used as a projection device to manifest holographic images or real manifestations of creatures during this end time deception of Project Bluebeam. Now, if you haven't seen my video on Project Bluebeam, the 5G death towers, and the mRNA injections, you should really watch it, and it will really kind of connect all these dots as we're getting into the final days of these deceptions. Either they're gonna really flip the switch and try to maintain control, or the control is just gonna slowly slip away, and the freedom of the people will be gained. So also these smartphones can act as a receiver and also magnify specific individual consciousness to cause manifestation with a 5G tower or power source. So when they flip all these systems on during the final deception, you're going to have the people being able to create whatever they think instantly. And if it's a negative based reality that people come from, like these lefty Democrat people who are just violent, angry, animal type people, they're going to manifest all this bad stuff. But if you come from the lighter side and you have Jesus Christ, you think about love and peace and things like that, and that reality will be manifested at an overall. And it's either going to work for them or against them, and that's kind of the larger part of this operation is if the people will Christ consciousness, you can almost manifest a Christ type entity to help and protect everyone and things like that. So it's really like the choices of each people. And this is where you could get into multiple realities and dimensions, or like a purgatory where some people just vanish and disappear and they go to their reality and we go to our reality. And it's like this is the concept of new earth and the 5D earth and all this kind of these concepts are when this power source and all these systems are turned on, the choice is really up to the individual and the observer to manifest whatever they want, or whatever the case may be. So predictive programming into reality. Predictive programming is used by the deep state, Zionist, satanic government occupations around our realm to create a narrative. They then turn on these antennas and 5G towers to pulse a wide ranging area. When the people hear about a major event like a hurricane, it can be willed in to create an event like a Hurricane Helene. So you think about it like they tell you on TV for days this massive hurricane is coming, and everyone, oh, this is going to be the biggest hurricane ever. This is a category 5,000 ultra turbo deluxe hurricane. This is going to be really bad. Everybody prepare, prepare, prepare. They're turning these machines on, and people then subliminally, or they think, oh, there's going to be a major hurricane, we got to get ready, and the people then will it into existence, if that kind of makes sense. But they always will tell you days before, they're prepare, 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 get ready. While they're doing that, they're pulsing these towers and this harp and stuff, and then people then will these big storms. So here's like how they're telling people there's a storm. They show you these radar glitches, and then bang, all of a sudden, this massive storm, this portal opens, and all this hell from the weather events comes out and causes all this destruction. Kind of a way of thinking about it. This could be very possible as how these massive storms are made. They manipulate the ionosphere and stuff. They magnetize the atmosphere. They tell you there's going to be a massive event or a storm. People manifest it, and then it's completely, causes all this destruction. Very interesting. I think about this kind of stuff all the time, and just this is why the best thing is to turn off your TV and unplug from their matrix reality, where you don't give them the control of your own thoughts and your own consciousness pushing towards these events. So it's almost as if a portal is opened and all this magnetic energy is released, causing all of these weather events. And if they can cause these massive weather events, they can cause manifestations of UFOs, manifestations of giants or demons or aliens or creatures or whatever it is. They'll tell you there is a creature coming, they turn on these things, and you manifest it into reality. Really interesting, something to think about. Um, it's a part of this puzzle of what they're doing here, and it all connects to them shooting these towers and lasers and amplifying frequencies and all this kind of stuff. It all kind of connects. So why? They use these events to consolidate power and force more control onto the people. The government is the main cause for all major events. They secure funding and then launder it for numerous off the book projects and programs. The TV is the main programming device to push these narratives they choose to create. They cause massive changes to the culture or reality of the people. This election is a perfect example. They tell you there's going to be chaos and rioting, and when Trump wins, there's people are happy, and it's just all their plans for social chaos and stuff all fall through. It's like they're telling you everyone's going to be rioting, so you go out and riot. And it's just like the programming is breaking down because people aren't listening to what the TV says, and they're actually, you have to force them into doing their own research. When you do your own research and you come up with an A, B, C, D, or E scenario, it's way harder to get one result when you are open to five or six different possibilities. So if they say there's going to be rioting and you say, well, no, there's going to be peace, you can almost manifest that if you have a stronger will or a stronger consciousness, which we know the people who do their own research, look into these stuffs, are way more strongly willed, stronger willed than the people who just blindly follow whatever the CNN people are telling them, if that kind of makes sense. So the entire smart grid can be used as one large system to work alongside other programs like HARP and CERN and Project Bluebeam and things like that. So it will be regional when they do these things. It will most likely be one massive city population at a time in which they have the most control. So we know, New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Los Angeles, wherever they have the most amount of mind controlled people doing whatever their bidding is and thinking the thoughts that they want them to think is where they'll manifest these things. And it's all connected to the smart cities, the 15-minute smart cities and stuff like that, because they know you're all going to be locked in. And especially if you're all driving electric car, you have nowhere to go. You can't flee the city in an electric car. Your battery's going to run out and you're going to be stranded, and you're in the bubble of where this big experiment or thought amplification event would take place. So, SMART is an acronym for the Secret Military Armaments and Residential Technology. This is the beginning or the end for the New World Order. Once they play their end time deception, we can decide to go along with them or we can decide to stop giving away our power to these Zionist, satanic elite people and the controlled New World Order governments. So this is like when the grid goes down and they're prepping all this, it's the best thing is to just unplug and not participate. Do not let them use your thoughts against you. Okay, all these programs and technical systems can be turned over to artificial intelligence and powered by 5G or CERN or whatever it may be. All of these major are all are a major part of the Project Bluebeam, and it all connects to the satanic takeover of our realm and of God's true chosen people, the descendants of the old world and the believers in Christ. This is this major battle that's playing out, and it's basically just which which side are you going to go with? Are you going to go with the do what thou wilt, service to self people, or service to others and the universal idea of all people being one unit under God? So when these deceptions start, all of the NPCs will all say the same thing to reinforce the collective agenda. And this is how we know it will all be alive because it's very cut and paste with their responses and their stuff. And it's all these giant bot farms telling you to be afraid or telling you X, Y, and Z. You know, Kamala's going to win, yada, yada, yada. When the people just kind of don't listen to that and they do their own thing and they can steer reality very easily to another a goal or whatever the general consensus of people is. So Project Bluebeam and the New World Order is the culmination of all this, and either they're gonna flip it on and do it, or they're not gonna do it because it's just so unbelievable. No one's gonna buy it. And the more people kind of understand the concepts of flat Earth and extraterrestrials, if these aliens ships start popping up and telling you they're from some far off galaxy, you're gonna know it's bullshit and no one's gonna buy it. And it's just the dummies who are the globe people are gonna be the ones who really are scared of the aliens and the space technology and all this kind of stuff. But they're the ones who fall for COVID. They're the ones who fall for all this stuff. Anything the TV tells them, they fall for it 100%. So it's a very interesting dynamic how the consciousness and the ideas of the people are separating more than ever into two different categories. The category of freedom, the category of slavery. The government is the god, or the god is serving the government or something. I mean, it's just like there's always this massive duality, and it is splitting more than ever. Um, Watch my video on the Project Bluebeam 5G death towers and mRNA and the New World Order. It will kind of understand how the vaccines all tie in with this. And it's all, no one forced you to get the vaccine. They told you you should get it and you got it. You didn't do any research. You didn't think for yourself. You do whatever they tell you to do. And that's the main major part of this is telling you to do something and you do it in order to cause this massive change in society or reality. So, summary and conclusion, if you are watching my videos or you've heard of these projects, you may start to see how they're all a part of the same wider operation. This all started when our historical record was rewritten and changed to support an alternate version of reality. From wars to our technology and the amount of control we are under, everything serves a purpose, and we seem to be getting to the end of these deceptions. Everything will either result in a new world order or a new realm of true freedom. I also think each person's consciousness as an observer will choose which system they want to be a part of. And it's an AI controlled government of the new world order, or we can follow God and Christ and correct the changes made by these controllers to gain our true actual freedom. So, you know, it's like these people want AI to come out and tell them what to do when the opposition to that is people read their Bible, they read into what Jesus Christ said and did, and it's like going to the past to go forward instead of going to the forward to go back or something. Because once these people are in this AI controlled smart grid city, it's like the end time. You're never getting out of these systems. You're going to be microchipped and there's no saving you. It's like some people in the Matrix cannot be saved. And then that's the major underlying thing of all these operations is getting people to be ignorant to the fact of their power and slowly taking it away from them and controlling them. And then the byproduct to that is people see these dumb people and do the opposite of whatever they're doing, which is researching, educating yourself, exercising, being healthy, and really uniting as one people under this golden rule. Treat people how you want to be treated, follow God and Christ, and understanding of uh, the two concepts of the two arguments and deciding which way you want to go. So that's the end of this one. I'm trying to keep it a little bit quicker. You can find me on Mud Fossil Research and Truth, Mud Fossil Truth and Research on Instagram, Twitter in the box below at Mud Fossil Guy and Mud Fossil Truth. You can find me on Rumble and BitChute. That's where this video will be at Modern American Gangster on both platforms, BitChute and Rumble. I am no longer uploading to YouTube because of active community guideline strikes, and they just constantly are taking down my videos, which I'm hoping now that this election is over and the general consensus is everyone needs to just calm down and relax a little bit moving forward. And hopefully that's going to remove some of this censorship that we are all under. So we'll see. I'm trying to not, I mean, I can't post on YouTube because of these community guideline strikes, but when they disappear, I don't know how much more I'm going to be adding to YouTube, but we'll see. It all kind of is what the will of the people is. And now that these horrible people are not going to be in power anymore, and you're going to see a complete cleansing and reorganization of the country and most jobs and things like that. So maybe that's going to lead to new opportunities. I don't know. But we'll see. I'm on Gab and Truth Social at Modern American Gangster on both platforms. I don't really post too much, but I mean, the more they censor, the more likely I'll be there. I don't know. We'll see. You can get my book, The Great Awakening, on lulu.com. The Great Awakening Unit 1, Timeline of Historical Events. Great Awakening Unit 2, Continued Points of Study. There is a digital download or an ebook, or you can get the Great Awakening Unit 1, Unit 2 on paperback. It's a nice big manual. I'm probably during the winter going to start working on the Unit 3. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the coming days. We'll see. I'm on PayPal at mudfossil124875 if anybody wants to donate, support my stream, support my research. If you want to, get a shout out, if you want to advertise, if you want me to do a specific video or something like that, please donate as a friend or family member at mudfossil124875. Thank you very much. I'm on n1m.com/modern American gangster, where all my music can be found and the audio versions to a lot of these videos I do are on there. Please watch some of my previous videos on the old world and the fall of the old world, the demonic entities, aliens, and extraterrestrials, the large video I made on the DUMBs or the deep underground military bunkers, bases, and black sites. Oh, I got What Really Happened, the full length documentary. Bear with me here. We partied pretty late last night with all this election stuff, so I'm hanging on here. I did not get a lot of sleep. Check out some of my other videos, the National Zionism video, the Project Bluebeam 5G Death Towers and the Zombie Apocalypse or Zombie Awakening video, QAnon and the Great Awakening videos, all really intense, in-depth research on kind of what's going on. And now that we get into this Philadelphia experiment and Montauk and the Looking Glass Project, it kind of is, there's multiple timelines and realities all these systems and programs are working off of. So one leads to another, which leads to another, and they all kind of connect when you put all these pieces together and understand it. So check it out. Watch the last week's video on the Philadelphia experiment from 1943. I'm starting to re-release some of my music and make little videos on that. So I got a couple videos up, and you can catch Mr. Saccavello at Madison Square Garden video. I'm going to be doing. There's some more Mr. Saccavello stuff coming. Some people like that. If not, if it's not your thing, it's up to you. But please like and subscribe, follow, leave any questions or comments you may have. Please leave a thumbs up if you watch this and enjoy this. I'm trying to keep on my one video a week. Some of them might not be exactly on the day, but we're getting it as best that we can. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great week. We got Trump in office now, and we're going to all see kind of where all this goes. So it'll be very interesting to see the meltdown of all these people. And the election was yesterday, and just watching these people melt down is like part of the whole reason why we had to vote Trump was just to watch these people lose their minds. And they're getting divorced, they're getting I mean, it's so comical. Reality is really, I think, going to start getting fun and interesting when they just keep going and just drive these people insane. And it's like driving the satanic collective insane. So interesting stuff, fun times ahead, lots more videos to come. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week.